Good day from ChemHelp ASAP. We're going to discuss common mistakes that you encounter in drawing line angle structures. So, our first common mistake is not reversing atom labels. Let's see an example. Here is a simple molecule. It contains an OH group. It happens to be an alcohol. We'll get to that in a later set of videos. But maybe for some reason you want to turn this structure around. And let's say we're going to draw the same zigzags, and now we want to get the OH over here on the left-hand side. And so it's an OH group. So we just draw that. Unfortunately, this is incorrect. In this original structure, we're trying to say that this carbon, there's a carbon here, this carbon is bonded to the oxygen. And when you turn around the group and you say OH this way, you're implying that that carbon is actually attached to the hydrogen and then the oxygen. So you haven't reversed the label, the OH label. You can't leave it as an OH. Instead, we need to write this as an HO. Now, normally we think of OHs, hydroxide, that's an OH, but we need to make the label appropriate to the direction of the structure. So this would be correct based on this correct starting structure. What's another mistake? Let's say our problem is the same. We want to draw this molecule, and we know this molecule has 4 carbons in it. So this is a valid structure. So let's redraw it and say, well, I want to make sure that I got all 4 carbons in the structure. So there's a carbon, there's a carbon, there's a carbon, and there's a carbon. And if you leave the structure like this, you actually have a mistake, because once you put in the carbons, and you are allowed to label the carbons, once you put in the carbons, you must then also put in the number of hydrogens. So you want to add these carbons? Great. You can do that. It makes your structure a little busier, but if you do that, that is incorrect. What you need to do, every time you add a carbon label, you really are required to put in the hydrogens. Otherwise, you're saying that these carbons, they don't have enough bonds. They either need lone pairs or formal charges. Something else needs to be going on for those carbons. So if you write the C, you must add the H's. What's our last common mistake? Sometimes when people draw structures, and let's say this is the structure that we want to draw, when we draw the structure, you think, I don't have to add hydrogens, so I can just write that structure. And that's incorrect. Remember, you must add the H's to oxygens and nitrogens. Really, you have to put the H's on anything other than carbon. So if you write that oxygen and it has a hydrogen, you must show that hydrogen. So that OH is necessary. If this were an amine with a nitrogen instead, we'd have to write an NH2 to give that nitrogen the 3 bonds that it wants. So these are probably the most common mistakes that I encounter with my students. So I'm guessing these are problems that plague everybody when they learn line angle structures. So be aware of these common mistakes. If you can avoid them, you will have a much higher percentage of your structures be completely correct as line angle structures.